Thank you and welcome to the show for today. You are watching Perspectives and I am host Alana McLaughlin. This morning's guest is Mr. Michael True of Trippy's Plant-Based Diner, and he's here discussing his life, his early education, his background, and the impact that he seeks to leave on Nashville through multiple business ventures, mainly Trippy's, but honestly through his kind of entrepreneurial work, his kind of mentor work, and just other work that Michael does here in Nashville. Excuse me, I'm all tongue-tied. We're getting this first segment started off by talking about baby Michael years. Tell me a little bit about just, seriously, baby Mike, what life looked like for you, where you're from, kind of early interests, and just set up those early years for me.
Okay, I was born in North Nashville, 37208, the highest incarceration rate in the nation at one point. And I lived in Bordeaux up until I was in the 4th grade, and then I moved to North 5th. If anybody knows Nashville, you know North 5th was a wild place to be in the early 80s and 90s, well, late 80s and early 90s. So I went from Bordeaux, which we considered like the Black Brentwood. Like it used to be, you know, no, we didn't have any violence, it wasn't no drugs, nothing going on. And then I went to North 5th and life started life. And
Yes.
so my early years started with, like, as far as when I talk about health, my father always had a garden. I never ate canned goods. I never tasted a Dorito until I was like 9 years old. I never ate like sweet cereals, Fruit Loops and stuff. All we ate was corn flakes and wheat bran. So I was raised like really organically. I hated it though, but it made me, it built the foundation of for what I am today.
Tell me some of your school experiences. Tell me some of the schools that you attended, and how did you balance like those school lunches and the foods that were being served in school versus what you're eating on the regular at home?
Well, back then food was different. So
Yes, sir.
in the school systems, yeah, I'm an 80s baby, so they had real food in schools
Yes,
back
sir.
then. So I still ate meats and all of those things. So my dad, we were on free lunch. So my daddy, I remember in kindergarten, he used to pack my lunch, but then after that, it was basically eating whatever they provided at school. And it wasn't no transition, because it was the same things I ate at home. It's just we never, like, we ate real collard greens. We ate our beans, we had to clean them and soak them, and like everything we did was from the earth. We didn't eat nothing that was considered processed, so to say.
Do you know the inspiration behind your dad having that garden and having that mentality? Was this your grandparents or maybe something he just kind of picked up throughout life? Do you know kind of any of the history of why you were kind of raised like that as a kid?
Well, my father was born in 1939, so I was raised by a elder
Yes,
already.
sir.
So that should explain enough. He
Yes,
was
sir.
born in 1939, so in those days it wasn't a lot of grocery store type items. Grocery stores came about after war. You know what I mean? Like after World War I, World War II is when we really started having these big markets. So it used to be, we used to go to the butcher and he would get all the meat cut. My daddy was really country, and he only had like a 3rd or 4th grade education. He was a brick mason, so for him it was more about sustainability and not having to be dependent on anyone. So you can grow your own food, you don't have to go buy it.
Now take me through just kind of what late childhood looked like. Ages about 8 or 9. Tell me about how kind of life kind of took a turn for you and what the rest of that childhood looked like.
My daddy ended up going to prison when I was 9 years old, and my siblings started to raise me. My older brother took me in for about 6 months to a year, but he was still running in the streets, so it was like, it was an unstable household. So my sister ended up taking us in, and then my father passed away like maybe 30, 45 days before he was set to get out of prison. And I was like, this was in 93, I think I was like 10 or 11. And it just sent me down a whole nother path. So I was, like I said, I went from North Nashville and Bordeaux to being in East Nashville on North 5th, Meridian Street, North 7th, North 2nd. Like I just constantly moved around. I never really had stable housing or any of that. So my early childhood years was full of instability and a lot of different stresses that you have in urban environments.
And we're going to pick back up on just the impact on you of just those stressors. We're going to talk about just some of the schools that you attended and the ways that they molded you. And we're going to continue this conversation up through the establishment of Trippy's and ultimately just the impact that you'd like to leave on Nashville through this education, through this food, and through just kind of your mentorship in the community. I encourage viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where Michael and I will return to discuss his background, his life, his work, and the impact that he seeks to leave on Tennessee. Segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin. You are watching Perspectives. This morning, my guest is Mike True of Trippy's Plant-Based Diner. He's here discussing his background, his education, his life, and the impact that he seeks to leave on Nashville through his work. In our first segment, we set up Mike's just kind of early life. We set up just some of the environments and neighborhoods that he dwelled in. And we're coming back in the second segment, talking about just some of the educational experiences that Mike had, how these institutions shaped him, just some of the early career endeavors and experiences that he had, and ultimately the conversation that we're having is building up to the work that he does in Nashville and ways that we can support him. We're coming right back in. We kind of set up a really good early life for you, and I want to talk now about some of the schools that you attended. Take me elementary, middle, high school, and tell me about how these schools and these institutions kind of shaped you in those early years.
Well, I started at Kings Lane for kindergarten, then went to Alex Green up into the 3rd grade. Then I went to DuPont when I moved out east for the 4th grade, and then Glenn for 5th and 6th grade, then Highland Heights for 7th and 8th, and then I went to Hillsborough. I was supposed to go to Maplewood, but my sister made me go to Hillsborough because I kept getting in trouble in the community and getting in trouble at school. But I was an honor student though, so I started at Hillsborough in the honors program, and actually that's what changed my life. And that's why I talk a lot about exposure, that when you're only exposed to certain environments, you don't see a brighter future, or you don't see it because it's not available. That's why it's good for us to have certain role models in our community to let us know that we are capable, or you can. So going to Hillsborough showed me a whole different perspective of life. Like the first day I walked in, the children are pulling up in Corvettes and BMWs, and I'm like, I don't even know an adult that has one. You know what I'm saying? So it just, and then there was a lot of diversity. It was a lot of African students, Middle Eastern students, and it just showed me that life is more than East Nashville.
Now, I've had quite a few Hillsborough grads on this platform, to name a few: Courtney Buchanan, Lil Timmy, Shannon Sanders, Fred Beasley, and all of them have talked about the way that Hillsborough kind of nurtured their love of music. Do you believe that your love for music and those early music experiences kind of began at Hillsborough?
Well, it did begin
Yes,
Hillsborough,
sir.
but Hillsborough didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes, sir.
Hillsborough had they were a vocational school.
Yes, sir.
So they had a studio.
Yes,
So
sir.
G used to be in there, like the teacher. But I didn't go to music. I was told you I was an honor student.
Yes,
Like I
sir.
didn't care about music. I cared about education. So I went into computer science because through my research, I knew that computers were going to be the new wave, and I was planning for the future. So, but unfortunately, growing up in the environment I grew up in, one thing led to another. I had my first child at the age of 15, and I literally got into music by just joking with people, because everybody used to say they were rappers. So on the bus, I was like, man, y'all can't rap. I can out-rap all y'all. So they was like, well, write a rap, and I write a rap, and I wrote a rap, and I was better than everybody. And that's what started the journey of Mike True. So
Now, take me through, I mean, just from these kind of like joking kind of raps on the bus, you ended up being involved with like 3 6 Mafia, a couple of
well,
different...
Kingpin, Skinny Pimp. Yeah.
Take me through this experience. Take me through, I mean, where does this go from the school bus to actually like being in these rooms, really producing art?
Yeah, so I ended up meeting a lady named Shoshana Samuels. She owned Show Enough Entertainment, and she ended up becoming our manager. I started rapping with a group called Apprehended, APP. They were like way ahead of their time. Like they were like the outcast of Nashville.
Oh, wow.
And That's back when Chris Kane used to be doing a lot of the beats here. He was like Kanye in the city. So it led from there, and I ended up meeting a guy named Living Legend. We started Legendary Records. We ended up getting Sony Red distribution from Selecto Hits. We did songs with UGK, well, with Bun B, Juvenile, Pastor Troy, Skinny Pimp, and then one of my friends, Tez, introduced us to Kingpin Skinny Pimp, and that's how I ended up being on his album, doing a lot of touring with him and just traveling around. So I was in the music industry for about 10 years, and then I started my own label and started putting out artists and putting out projects.
Now tell me about the transition from like working your own label to starting Trippy's. Tell me about the journey between these two things. I'm like, well, these are two different ends of the spectrum. Tell me about it.
Well, what people don't know is, and I might be spoiling it for other people, back in the day, now the industry is more business driven.
Yes, sir.
But back in the early days of hip hop and rap culture, it was a street element to it.
Yes, sir.
So meaning that most of the people that you thought were successful were not successful. They had some street dealer behind them pushing the narrative.
Yes,
and most artists were pretending to be the street people. So I was one of the actual street people who got into music really just because it was an avenue to say something I was doing, but because I didn't have a job.
Yes,
you
sir.
see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So to be honest with you, it wasn't my passion, but I was good at it.
Yes, sir.
So it ended up becoming my passion. And we built a good label, and it in the beginning, it was cool, and then when it wasn't cool, the feds came, seized the studio, seized the masters, and life kicked in, and then that's when I pivoted, moved to Atlanta, started working with other artists and stuff there. Worked with Shorty P, which was Little Flip's producer. Worked with Granddaddy South in Memphis, and then I just kept getting in trouble. So it was like the streets. I couldn't leave the streets alone because that was where the substance was coming from. So everything else was charades. It was just for looks, but the real money came from being in the streets. So.
Now let me ask you, were you in the streets out of like a need for this money, or out of like, I've just done it so long, this is all I know, or out of like, I'm seeking community? Tell me about, just as much as you're comfortable with explaining that mentality, tell me just kind of what kept that hold on you.
I'm a product of my environment.
Yes, sir.
So my level, I had 13.5 GPA in the state of Tennessee going into high school. I was always intelligent, but intelligence only goes so far when you have lack of opportunities.
Yes, sir.
So where I came from, it wasn't a lot of opportunities available. And to be honest with you, I started hustling out of necessity. So my sister was taking care of me, and shout out to my sister. She did the best she could, but I was an ambitious person that I was very aware of what was going on, and I didn't want to wait.
Yes, sir.
So I made something happen at a very young age. At 13, I decided to do something about my situation.
Yes, sir.
And it led me to years of being in street environments. But so as far as music, I kept getting in trouble, and eventually they were like, look, you can't keep saying you do music. We need a check stub.
Yes,
or you need to give us your tax returns for your business. So I'm like, man, because I always had a business,
yes,
but
sir.
My business wasn't a real business.
And we're going to pick back up. And that is a perfect way to end the second segment. I always had a business, but it wasn't always a real business. Yeah. You're right. I encourage viewers to tune into the final segment of this interview, where Michael continue to tell his story. He'll continue to tell how he turned business into actually a real business. And we'll talk about the impact that he seeks to leave on Nashville communities through his education and through Trippy's plant-based diner. To the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning on the show, I've had Mike True of Trippy's Plant-Based Diner here discussing his background, his education, his life, and the impact that he seeks to leave on Tennessee communities. In our first two segments, Mike set up just his early life, early career experiences, his music career, which might have been a bit short-lived. Let him tell it. But we set up just what life looked like, some of the interesting endeavors that Mike has been into. And in this final segment, we're talking about current life, Trippy's plant-based diner, the impact of education about healthy eating in the Black community, and honestly, the impact that Mike just wants to leave on our community. We're coming right back in. We've talked about your music career. We've set it up. You were like the coolest guy in America right now. Now tell me about transitioning from like these labels, this almost this fast-paced lifestyle, to establishing Trippy's. What was even the inspiration behind starting Trippy's?
Well, it goes back to 2008. Like I said, the music industry for me kept leading me down the wrong path.
Yes,
so I couldn't get a job. I ended up getting a job as a line cook, making $10 an hour at the TA in Antioch. And within 30 days, I was the kitchen manager. Within 3 months, I was the lead of the back of the house and the front of the house. And then within 6 months, I was in the MIT program. Within a year, I was the assistant general manager. So I stayed there almost 3 years. And when I left, I was the acting GM because we technically had a general manager that had hip replacement. Whole nother story. But make a long story short, that's what got me in my footing and understanding that I'm really good at cooking.
Yes,
and
sir.
I went on to work at the Embassy Suites, Cool Springs, Vanderbilt Marriott, the Palm. I worked with Tomcats Catering on movie sets in Virginia and Pittsburgh. So it just became a passion. I won the Hot Chicken Festival in 2013, and it just kept on growing and growing. And then in 2018, I decided to go fully plant-based, and that's what kind of created Trippy's Plant-Based Diner. After I left I was doing a lot of community work and mentoring with a certain organization I don't care to name.
That's all right.
But everybody who know. So it started with that, and when I left them in 2022, I wanted to do something based around the food because I used to go to all the vegan restaurants, and I was like, everybody just had like one item that was like really good, and not to talk about nobody, but it just wasn't. It didn't make me want to keep coming back to these restaurants. So I just created Trippy's to give people something that really would trip them out and know like vegan food can be good.
Now you take me through, what does your diet consist of? Not just the Trippy's menu. I want to just about you. When you decided in 2018 to go plant-based, what does that look like? And take me through, I guess, kind of the body, like the real physical effects of that, stepping away from meat, kind of changing up what you're eating, how you're eating it. Tell me about that lifestyle change and what inspired that for you.
Well, I went to Africa in 2017, and I did a culinary exchange with a chef named Chef Tway Tway. We worked with Michael Sata's estate, which was the former president of Zambia. And we went to Makuni Village and cooked with the king of Makuni Village. And we just learned a lot of different ways and modalities to cook. And I seen the food there, and the vegetables, the meat, everything was different. As soon as I came back to America, I started getting sick from eating the food here. So I was like, yeah, it's time to switch it up. And I made the transition, and it was easy for me because once I'm disciplined, I'm disciplined. And once I say I'm gonna do something, that's what I do. So I just cut all the meat out. In 2020 or 2021, I can't remember, I did a 40-day fast where I didn't eat anything for 40 days and 40 nights, just to show everybody that it's a common misconception of food. And I've been studying holistic medicine and food since 2008. I started in like 2005, but I didn't get serious until 2008. And I started bodybuilding and like really learning my body, and I cut everything out except for chicken. And that was kind of the last thing. And once I learned that I could make chicken substitutes, I didn't need meat anymore.
And that's what kind of leads me into Trippy's. Tell me about some of the offerings of Trippy's, and tell me about what makes this menu unique in your opinion.
Well, what makes it unique is it's still comfort food, and it's kind of the same food that you would normally want to go get from a fast food restaurant, but we don't use anything that comes from animals. We don't use cheese, dairy, eggs, meat, butter. So it's everything on the menu is 100% plant-based and comes from the earth. But it's also comfort food, and it's very familiar, like Philly cheesesteaks, chicken sandwiches, burgers, loaded fries. So me personally, I'm more of on the raw, like eating of the earth, fresh vegetables and fruits. But what I've noticed in Tennessee or in Nashville, people want barbecue and burgers and pizzas, and so it's only a small pocket of people that want the salads and wraps and things like that. So just from a sustainable standpoint, I thought it'd be best to introduce comfort food first.
Oh, cool. Now tell me about building this menu. Who's working with you? Is this all off the dome?
Yeah, I don't work with nobody. I ain't saying that in a negative manner, but I am the creator of everything, from the design, from the concept. So it was initially started to be like a 1950 style diner. So we were going to focus on burgers, shakes, and things like that. And eventually we may open up an establishment like that, but I ended up starting with a food truck because it was more affordable and more convenient for me at the time.
Now, where can the food truck be found? Where can people connect with you? I just want to get that in while people are like, I want some comfort food that's actually good.
Well, we're located at 310 East Old Hickory Boulevard, Madison, Tennessee, 37115. Right now, we are temporarily closed because I'm doing a whole renewal and about to come back with even a better design of what we did. So right now, we're doing pop-ups. So just follow Trippy's Plant-Based Diner page, and you'll see everything we got going in the community. And we usually do a pop-up at least once, twice a month right now.
Okay, now that's awesome. What are some locations you guys have been at, if you can think of any off the top of your head?
We do pop-ups at Soul and Soil in Antioch at Murfreesboro Pike, 2940 Murfreesboro Pike. It's my brother's apothecary store. Where do we do it? I just did a pop-up with Duco's, where I basically came and took over the pizza spot and turned it into a plant-based pizza party for one day. So yeah, I just work, and that's what I've been wanting to do, work with a lot of other restaurants. That way I can show, because a lot of people don't believe in vegan food. And trust me, I understand why. When I first became vegan, I was like, yeah, this ain't it. So that's what Trippy's was born, to show you that it can be good. So I want to work with as many restaurants that want to add more vegan items to their menu, because we are a growing community and we go to a lot of establishments and we can't eat.
You're right.
So I'm trying to show everybody that, like, we can have vegan Asian food, vegan Mexican food, vegan Italian food. The possibilities are endless.
Mike, plug yourself in for any business owner that's watching this right now saying, boy, I want him to come in and bring a couple items, desserts too.
Yeah, we do everything.
Plug yourself in, plug in ways that people can contact you, any websites, social medias, any and everything.
Well, you can find me on, I'll just Google my name, Chef Mike True, ChefMicTrue. If you Google that, it'll pop up all my social sites. And then my website is trueToEarthOrganics.com, TRUE2EARTH Organics.com, and we sell sea moss. I've been selling sea moss in Nashville since 2015 inside of a store. I couldn't get anybody to buy sea moss back then. After 2020, now everybody's an expert, and that's another conversation. But I've been like selling sea moss, elderberry elixirs, antiviral elixirs to help with boost your immune system. I also just wrote a book called The Alchemy of Oneness, which you can also purchase on my website, True to Earth Organics. And this is just teaching us how to get back to the philosophy and the existence of oneness, knowing that everything comes from one. So no matter what you believe in, no matter your ethnic group or whatever, we all stem from the same place.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for the work that you do in our community. You're kind of like a gem to Nashville in a way. I believe it. You're looking at me crazy, but I believe that you're kind of unique in the work that you do. And to my viewers, thank you for the opportunity to share one more perspective. I wish you a good morning.
Triple option.